This is lecture number 2, Early Civilizations of South Asia and Powerful Empires in South Asia. Indian railroad workers during the mid-1800s inadvertently uncovered what is believed to have been the oldest civilization in South Asia. No joke. Well, fast forward 70 years to the 1920s, and the archaeologists determined that the railroad workers had indeed unearthed an ancient city called Harappa, which was one of the two main civilizations along the Indus River in what is now a nation called Pakistan. Early civilizations on the Indian subcontinent later will morph into some of the world's most notable and advanced civilizations that included territories that transformed into powerful empires, including the Mauryan and Gupta empires. So let's start by taking a look at the oldest known civilization on the subcontinent, which emerged along the Indus River Valley and stretched over 1,000 miles, lasting from 2500 to 1500 BCE. So here we go. So the two oldest known cities include Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, both located in modern-day Pakistan. What was so special about these cities? Well, they were extremely well-planned and organized. These cities clearly reflect the elements of all civilizations, or scrag. Remember scrag? A group of people living in one place is referred to as a civilization if it includes certain basic characteristics. Both Mohenjo-daro and Harappa had specialized jobs, complex institutions, record keeping, advanced technology, advanced cities, and good geography. Cities like Mohenjo-daro were laid out in a grid-like pattern, which clearly mapped out streets and housing areas. There were drainage and sewer systems connected directly to people's homes. There were large granaries to store food. There were public buildings in addition to private dwellings, and all the bricks used in construction were of uniform size or dimensions, all of which suggest a well-organized government that must have had leaders who were deciding what and for whom to build things, or at least someone in charge who was regulating how the city was to be built and laid out. Both Mohenjo-daro and Harappa were able to feed their ever-growing populations with a steady supply of grain, mostly wheat and barley, which could be stored long-term in the public granaries. The people of these civilizations also domesticated animals like sheep, goats, cattle, and water buffalo, all essential for an advanced civilization. We have already learned of the importance of developing a food surplus to allow for job specialization in society. Simply put, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro had the right crop, the right geography, and the right animal. Thanks, Jared Diamond. Because if you're always worried about where your next meal is coming from, you're not going to be concerning yourselves with things like pottery or other forms of art. There is also evidence of trade in these cities with places as far away as Sumer in Mesopotamia. Most scholars believe that the Harappan civilization included trading products like cotton, and they believed they were trading them with places as far away as the Middle East. So all of their Middle Eastern connections would get cotton from the Harappan civilization. Cotton was widely grown along the Indus River Valley. However, there is a certain amount of mystery that remains regarding both of these cities. Clay seals were unearthed at Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. No, not those kinds of seals. Seals. Yeah, okay, and there were pictograph writing that they found, or pictograph writing appeared on all of these seals. Scholars do not know why these seals were made, and they can't decipher or determine what the writing means, but these seals prove that the ancient South Asians had the ability to keep written records, another important characteristic of any civilization. So when did these civilizations end? Well, they appear to have fallen into decline or decay around 2000 BCE, but historians aren't sure exactly why. Were they invaded? Were invaders responsible? Were these cities attacked? Most scholars feel the decline was due to natural causes like extensive drought or excessive flooding. Maybe the soil lost its fertility. As a result, perhaps the people slowly migrated to other parts of the subcontinent to look for food. Without the ability to feed itself using a food surplus, a society can't fully reach its potential. Because if you're always worried about where your next meal is coming from, you aren't going to be worrying about pottery or other forms of art, much less maintaining a city. Perhaps these people were attacked, we just aren't sure. We do know that another group of people arrived in the region not long after the collapse of the Harappan civilization. These were the Aryans, a group of Indo-European warriors who migrated from the steppe region of the Caucasus Mountains, located on the Eurasian plains near Central. These nomadic warriors traveled through the Hindu Kush Mountains and brought iron tools and weaponry to the subcontinent. We also know that these Indo-European warriors had horses and introduced their language to the region. Modern-day Hindi has its roots in Indo-European culture. In fact, almost 50% of the world's languages today are Indo-European, suggesting some sort of mass migration in history. Many of the Aryans' early religious beliefs formed the basis for what we would later call Hinduism. Their language, called Sanskrit, was used to write down prayers and religious ceremonies, many of which are included in a series of religious texts now collectively referred to as the Vedas. Many religious ceremonies outlined in the Vedas include an emphasis on making sacrifices to the gods, indicating a polytheistic society. Aryan villages or small towns later formed the basis for the type of village life we see in rural parts of the Indian subcontinent, even today. Chiefs called Rajas ruled over villages, and each village had a council of warriors who helped make collective decisions. The Aryans also developed a social hierarchy or social system based on social classes. The Aryans had a system based on 4 classes called the Varna, which some believe was determined by skin color. These included, in order from top to bottom, the Brahmins, who were priests, the Kshatriyas, or the warriors, the Vaisyas, or the merchants, or landowners, herders, and the Sudras, who were servants. This complex social system later morphed into the modern-day caste system in India. More on that later. Eventually, powerful empires emerged as Indo-European peoples spread across the subcontinent. We've learned that an empire is a large geographic area controlled by some sort of central authority, usually a single leader like a king or emperor. One of the most prominent empires in India included the Mauryan Empire, established by Chandragupta Maurya in 321 BC, when he created the first dynasty, or ruling family, in India. The Mauryans will control India for over 140 years. Chandragupta established a well-organized government with officials who helped him oversee and control his vast territory. His officials collected taxes and helped manage the empire. All citizens were required to pay taxes in exchange for protection by the government. Chandragupta had fortified cities built for protection, including a city called Pataliputra, the capital city. Chandragupta's grandson, Asoka, ruled from 269 to 232 BCE, and the empire reached its height under his rule. After initially harshly ruling over his people and engaging in much warfare to expand the empire, he began peacefully ruling, and he converted to a new religion that emerged from Hinduism called Buddhism. Asoka was responsible for a number of reforms in society, including the establishment of a written legal system that was carved on rocks for all his subjects to see. You're going to learn about many legal systems in history that have been put on display for people, whether it's the laws of the 12 tables in ancient Rome or Hammurabi's code in Mesopotamia. We're going to see all these similarities in these legal codes, basically making a system where people are expected to follow rules, and in some cases, people are equal under the law, or laws apply to all people, although some of these systems weren't always truly equal. In any event, Asoka embraced non-violence. He became a vegetarian, and he stopped animal sacrifice in his empire. Asoka is remembered today for his efforts to spread Buddhism across India. He did this by having numerous temples built across the region, which included thousands of stupas, or shrines. Roads were later built to connect these shrines and helped contribute to early transportation systems across India. Asoka also helped spread Buddhism to Asia by sending Buddhist missionaries to China. Buddhism is widely practiced throughout all parts of Asia today as a result. After the decline of the Mauryan Empire following Asoka's death in 232, the next 500 years of India's history included numerous smaller kingdoms. This period of time was marked by many outside invaders, including Greeks, Persians, and Central Asian tribes, all of whom left behind remnants of their culture after they left. This is an example of cultural blending or cultural diffusion. Southern India developed a distinct culture due to its being divided from northern India by the Deccan Plateau. The smaller Tamil kingdoms, set up by the Dravidian people in the south, developed trade with Arabic traders and may have even had sea contact with the Chinese. Following this 500-year period of smaller kingdom rule, the Gupta Empire emerged. Gupta equals Golden Age. Remember that. A golden age is a good time in history. Good things are happening. There is relative prosperity, progress, and peace during a golden age. The Gupta Empire ruled from 320 CE until 535 CE. So basically around the end of the Roman Empire period in Europe. One of their most prominent leaders was Chandragupta I. Yes, he was actually the first Chandragupta of the Gupta Empire. We've already learned about a leader from the Mauryan Empire with the same name, right? Among the Gupta's most notable achievements, art and literature reflective of Buddhist values, poetry and plays from well-known writers like Kalidasa, who wrote the Shakuntala. Additionally, the Guptas made advances in math, including the creation of the decimal system and the concept of zero. They also accurately calculated the size of the Earth. The Gupta Empire came to an end after being attacked by a nomadic group of warriors called the Huns, who are believed to have been early ancestors to a group of people called the Mongols. I'm referring to. By the 600s CE, a new belief system made its way to India from the Middle East, Islam, via invading groups who included Mongols, Afghans, Turks, and Persians. Some of these people set up powerful kingdoms in India, including a group called the Delhi Sultans. No, not that Delhi. Yeah, that Delhi. The Delhi Sultans, or kings, were tolerant rulers who allowed the Indian people to keep their Hindu beliefs. The Muslim rulers allowed non-Muslims to pay special taxes that allowed them to maintain their own religious traditions. Taxation of their subjects allowed early Muslim leaders in India to create lavish building projects and public buildings. A notable early Muslim leader in India under the Delhi Sultans was Firuz Tughlaq between 1351 and 1388 CE, who built hundreds of schools, hospitals, irrigation systems, and small cities. The Delhi Sultanate went into decline when the Mongols invaded in 1398.
Wait for it, the Mongols!
The Mongols were Asian invaders from Central Asia and included leaders like Tamerlane, who conquered Delhi, killing many of its inhabitants. The Mongols attacked again in 1526 under Babur, Tamerlane's grandson. Babur later helped establish an empire called the Mughal Empire. The Mughal Empire later helped to quell clashes between Hindus and Muslims in India following years of conflict between the religious groups. The Mughals helped blend Hindu and Muslim culture by using a new language called Urdu, which blended the Hindi language, which used the Sanskrit script, with the Arabic script used by Muslims. Urdu is the official language of Pakistan today. The Mughals built ornate mosques throughout India and made contributions to Indian literature and art. The most famous of the Mughal leaders was perhaps Akbar the Great, a tolerant leader who controlled the Mughal Empire from 1556 to 1605 CE. Akbar's religious toleration was evident even in his own life. Although Muslim, Akbar married a Hindu princess, and he ended the tax on Hindus by the Muslim-led government. Today, he's remembered as one of the most progressive leaders in Indian history. Akbar the Great's grandson, Shah Jahan, later built one of the most significant and well-known buildings in India, or the world for that matter, the Taj Mahal. The Taj Mahal was built to honor his wife, Mumtaz Mahal, who died during childbirth. It took 22 years to finish the structure. The Mughal Empire fell into decline during the 1700s due to overtaxation. Mughal leaders also were becoming less tolerant of other religions. Europeans later exploited the decline of the Mughal Empire and capitalized on the worsening relationship between Hindus and Muslims. But more on that later. Thanks for listening. Bye.